first off, we all kept coming to the farm in our flip-flops because we are right beside the beach. And so everybody, when we first started, we'd all show up and we were like, aren't we supposed to be wearing closed-toed shoes? Why is everybody constantly wearing flip-flops? We'd be walking around in our flip-flops, our feet are so dirty. And then also like at the beginning when we were trying to figure out what to do, and we were all kind of doing our own things, like we'd be like, wanna work together? And then people would be like, yeah. And then the next time we'd be like, wanna work together? People would be like, no. And so it just was hilarious because we kept joking around that we were flip-flopping both our toes and what we wanted to do. And then we were like, that actually has a funny ring to it. I feel like it should stay. Yeah, so a bit about my background and how I've come to work at Flip Flop Farms. My first job in Santa Cruz was at a flower farm in Moss Landing. And my mentor, Bill the Bulb Bear, and he was the world's leading hybridizer of narcissus and daffodil flowers. And he created the most diverse collection of those flowers in the world. And that was in Moss Landing. So since I was 18, I worked on that flower farm, and I went to school for biology and environmental studies with an emphasis in plant science. And then after that, I worked as a conservation ecologist for the Big Sur Land Trust, for a private consulting company, and for Granite Rock and Cemex. Doing conservation, we did thousands of acres of restoration projects and then research on like endangered species. So went back to work on the original farm that I had worked on when I was 18. And then I took over that farm after my mentor passed away. So I have my own business, Flowers at the Sea, which is from Moss Landing. And there I met some people at the farmers market. We actually originally started this property as individual growers. So I was actually going to bring Flowers at the Sea up here and expand my flower business. And then when we were up here, we were like, whoa, we don't have any infrastructure. It's all very expensive. Like, why are we doing our own individual projects? We should work together. And so through that, Flip Flop Farms was born. Flip Flop Farms' ethos is based on sustainable practices, organic agriculture, integrated pest management, and we are working with the NRCS, which is the National Resource Conservation Society. We received a grant to incorporate a lot of practices that integrate sustainability and conservation into the farmscape. And so that includes like bird perches. We're building bird perches all around the area to both help with native birds, and it's an integrated pest management practice for like gophers and things like that. Then we're integrating California native plants into the farmscape. So throughout our landscape design, we have a ton of native plants from the area. We've been working with some nurseries, native plant growers in the area to get the native plants out here. Another way we are focused on sustainability is through our organic practices. And following organic practices is an in-depth procedure that requires a lot of both infrastructure and following guidelines. So we just actually received our CCOF certification, and within the CCOF certification, it requires you to do a ton of overarching sustainable conservation measures, and that is probably our primary ways in which we're doing that at the moment. What are some of the biggest challenges we face as a farmer, and how do you overcome those challenges? This is a loaded question because farming at its core is difficult and challenging and humbling and one of the greatest professions you can be in because of that. Somebody related farming to parenting, because you're constantly nonstop, and the amount of work that you actually are doing compared to the hours that you're putting in and the pay that you're receiving maybe don't equate, but what you receive from doing something like this is far greater than you can put into words. So that's a good comparison. And I think one of the greatest challenges that we face farming is things that are outside of your control. So for example, we try to control the water, we try to control the pests, we try to control time of planting, we try to control nutrients, we try to control soil. Like all of these things that are within our control are useful tactics to farming. However, there's so many things outside of your control, like the weather, and sometimes things that you aren't able to predict. And I think that's the hardest part, is that you're constantly on your toes, wondering what could happen. And a lot of times you just have to pivot and become creative and figure out how to navigate things that are outside of your control, which is kind of like life, which is why farming is so great, because everything's a great metaphor for the experience of life. Future of the farm is, we want to feed the community. So this is new. This is something we're learning. Farming is constantly learning. You're always going to be learning. And we want to create a very sustainable, integrated farm with our conservation practices, holding community events that help teach the youth why it's so important to grow organic agriculture, to support local farmers, how hard it is to get one strawberry from the soil to the plate, and why it's important to support the people that are working in these areas, and showing that and getting the community involved. Also on the horizon, we're hoping to become a regenerative farm that takes years of integration. And so starting off with our organic practices and then slowly integrating that into our farmscape is kind of the basis of what we're trying to do here. So we can teach the community what it truly means to be a sustainable, fully integrated farm.